What is up, LEGO fans? Cow60Bricks here, and today is just 2 weeks away from August 1st, where the brand new Star Wars wave of summer sets is just around the corner. So in this video, I'm essentially going to be making a buyer's guide for people wishing to purchase some of those sets. So I'm going to be taking factors such as budget, interest, and maybe some specific minifigures into account. Do keep in mind though, this video will only be taking the new wave of sets into account, so your budget and interest may actually be suited better to some already existing Star Wars sets. So when watching this video, maybe set aside a specific budget just for the new wave of sets, as that's all we're going to be taking a look at. But with that disclaimer out of the way, let's hop into this video. So I'm going to start off with a budget of €50 or less, which is the equivalent of $60 or less or £40 or less. As this is the budget probably most people would fall into, so this is definitely an important one. And do keep in mind that the prices I'll be referencing will be in euros, so they'll be slightly different in some other currencies. They'll be mostly around the same, and this isn't a hard budget, so we can give or take €5 or so. The advice I'm giving is still going to stand to about the same value. So we can already knock out the Bad Batch shuttle, the Republic gunship, Moff Gideon's cruiser, Darth Vader's chamber, leaving us with 4 sets. The Mandalorian fighter, the Slave One, the Marauder, and Maul vs Ahsoka. So considering that you're only going to be able to get one of these sets with a budget of under €50, let's just go through each of them one by one. So we'll start off with the Mandalorian Starfighter. Now technically this is actually €55, so you would be going a tiny bit over your budget, but if you really like the set, I'm sure you can manage an extra $5. So I do think it has a great build, a great minifigure selection, but I would only buy this, if you're a Clone Wars fan. It did appear in The Mandalorian, but very, it was only a few minutes, so I do think you'd have to be quite an avid Clone Wars fan to be paying, an extra €5 for this. But I think it's a great set and definitely worth it if it's something you're interested in. So for the Slave One, I think this is the one I would recommend the most with your budget. Fits it perfectly, and oh my god, €50 when these are usually €150. It's amazing value. What a bang for your buck. The set just looks great. The exclusive Boba Fett, the Beskar Mando, and it's just so great value. I would definitely recommend this for any fans, because the Slave One's pretty much from every single era. I don't know anyone who doesn't recognize this iconic ship, so this is probably the one I would recommend the most. Now for the Imperial Marauder. If you like army building, this is definitely a good set. I don't like the design of it too much. I feel like it's a little bit small for €40 as well. However, it has great minifigures, again, for army building. That Mortar Trooper is pretty great, and you get 2 Stormtroopers as well. However, you're obviously not going to be army building this set if you only have €50 or less. So maybe steer away from this one. It depends if you're a fan of The Mandalorian. If you do like the look of the build, I suppose it's kind of up to you, but I'm not too keen on this one. And then as for Maul vs Ahsoka, I don't think this set is great value. The minifigures are really all you're getting here. They are great minifigures. If you don't have a Maul or Ahsoka, yeah, I would consider getting this one, as it is the cheapest of the wave. However, I feel like there's other sets with your budget you could definitely spend on. So, technically you could get this and the Imperial Marauder, but you would be going €10 over there, and they are 2 of the weakest sets, I would say. So personally, with this budget, for me, I would say Slave One is the way to go. It pretty much is perfect for any kind of fan, and the value there is great. But again, it just does depend on your interest, so I hope I helped you out here. Our next budget will be less than €100 or $120 or £85. So 2 new sets come to play here. The Darth Vader Meditation Chamber and the Bad Batch Shuttle. So of course, firstly we'll take a look at these 2 sets separately, but then we can start looking at some combinations as our budget is a little bit higher. So as for the Bad Batch Shuttle on its own, I think this is a phenomenal set, one of the best in the wave, definitely worth €100. However, that would be spending your entire budget, which you could do to make some other combinations. And of course, the Bad Batch is quite a selective group of the Star Wars fandom, so a lot of people might not recognize the ship, and I wouldn't recommend getting it unless you're a fan of the show. I really love the show, so this is definitely one that I would love to be able to get. So I think if you have a budget of €100 and you really like the Bad Batch, this is definitely not a bad option. As to the Darth Vader Meditation Chamber, I do not think this is a good value for €70. I just don't. I don't think you're getting enough volume here. I don't think it looks very good. Most people do. So if that's your opinion, then okay, but I think you're spending a lot of your budget on something that I just don't think is worth it. You're not getting a lot of minifigures, you're not getting a lot of play value, if that's something you're looking for. And yeah, I just don't think it'd be wise to spend this much of your budget with it. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is go over a couple of combinations that you can get with this budget and just discuss which ones I think are the best or best suited to different interests. So without counting any previous standalone sets or combinations that may have been mentioned earlier in this video, as you already know my opinions on those, we have Maul vs. Ahsoka and Darth Vader's Meditation Chamber, Maul vs. Ahsoka and the Imperial Marauder, Maul vs. Ahsoka and the Slave One, Maul vs. Ahsoka and the Mando Fighter, the Marauder and the Slave One, Slave One and the Mando Fighter, and the Mando Fighter and the Marauder. If any of those combinations I just listed sound appealing to you, then maybe you could consider them, but now I'm just going to take a few into a bit more detail. So if you're just a Mandalorian fan, then a good combination for you might be the Slave One and the Marauder, as they're both sets from Mandalorian Season 2, so you might like to get both of those. Now if you're a Clone Wars fan, perhaps you would like the Mando Starfighter and the Maul vs. Ahsoka dual set. Those will go quite nice together, both from the Siege of Mandalore scene, if you really enjoyed that one. And then I think another quite good combination, if you're just a fan of everything, would be the Slave One and the Mandalorian Starfighter. I think they're two of the best designed sets of the wave, and I think they're very good value, so that would definitely be a nice pairing there. Our next budget will be less than €200 or $240 or £170, so quite a high one here, and we are bringing one new set into play. That would be Moff Gideon's Cruiser, so definitely a viable option with this budget. And if you were planning on getting this, if you have a budget of €200, you could consider getting perhaps the Slave One or the Marauder with it. Both of these sets would go very well if you're getting this set, one or the other really, to stay under that budget. Yeah, they were both involved in Mandalorian Season 2 and would just, I think, go very well with the set. So either of those combinations would definitely be a smart choice. Now, with such a high budget, it would just be unfeasible for me to go through all of the many combinations. So I'm just going to pick out a few that I think are pretty good. So, you could have the Slave One, Maul vs. Ahsoka, and the Mando Fighter, the three of those sets, because they're three of the best sets, I think, in the wave. So that would be a nice combination. You could also do the Bad Batch Shuttle, the Maul vs. Ahsoka set, and the Mando Fighter. These are all from the animated shows such as Bad Batch and Clone Wars, so if you're into the animated shows, that would be a good combination. So at this high of a budget, you can essentially nearly buy all of these sets, and there's not much help from me that you need. However, I would say you're presented with two main options. You can buy all of the play sets, or you can buy the two display sets, and they are about the same price. So this really just comes down to, do you prefer sets with minifigures and that you can play with, or do you prefer sets that you can just put on your shelf and admire, really designed for older builders, more advanced building, hence the 18+ marking. So yeah, that's what it comes down to, and this is probably for most people the tip of the budget. I can't see many people having more than €420 to spend on LEGO Star Wars, and if you do, well then I guess you could buy it all, or you could mix and match. You might be able to afford the gunship and a lot of other playsets as well. But at that point, you probably don't need my help. You have a ton of money and it won't be too hard to decide. You'll pretty much be able to buy whatever you want. But at this number, I think this is the edge where you have to make the decision between play and display. And yeah, that really comes down to your personal opinion. I hope you found this video helpful in deciding which of the new sets to get, or at least I hope you enjoyed it. So yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Hope you enjoyed the video. That's all from me. Have a great day. I almost forgot, if you don't like, subscribe and share this with your friends, the buildable bat will be very upset.